Jared Goff, RJ Choppy, gets
my guy
a big-time contract extension. And this is your guy. This was something where you got to be pretty happy about this, right? This feels like a victory for you, in essence. Not because it's like, oh, I want him to get paid, but the fact that he gets a pretty big contract extension is indicative, I think, of the league views him the way you did.
I think he's a good player. I think he's a top 10 quarterback, probably top 8. Maybe not. I don't know. Can you win a Super Bowl with him? I don't know. I mean, he's been there, but I don't know if he can win one. We'll see. We'll find that out.
We'll find out.
But I always thought that he was unfairly looked at, and I think this is a case of, the media decides on their own, is it the coach or the quarterback who gets the credit? And they genuflect at the altar of Sean Payton and Sean McVay, and they're just like, oh, well, it can't be the quarterback. Mm-hmm. It has to be the coach. Somehow Drew Brees, people question whether or not Sean Payton made Drew Brees. No, Drew Brees made Sean Payton, in my opinion. Sean McVay's a very good coach. He obviously has shown that he won a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. But I thought that they just got rid of Jared Goff, and I thought he got a raw deal.
I did too. I think that...
Now, granted, if Matt Stafford wasn't available, they'd probably still have Jared Goff as their quarterback in L.A.
Probably and a little surly about it, though. McVay had clearly...
He had soured.
He had worn thin on him. And to Jared Goff's credit, Dan Campbell said that when Jared Goff came in there and that first season, when they were getting their ass kicked, and Goff still came to work every day, coming off of what could have been a very easy... It could have been really easy to just check out when you got traded there. And Dan Campbell said, I will love Jared Goff for life and have so much respect for him as a football player and as a culture guy, the way that he handled that situation, coming over here, a lot of tough times, and then sticking with it and becoming a big-time leader for us. He's also incredibly entertaining. He is funny in some of these interviews and stuff like that. Yeah, Goff's a good interview, and Goff is playful with the press and everything else when he's out there. So I do like Jared Goff. He signs a 4-year, $212 million extension, which gives him $53 million annually, $170 million guaranteed, which I believe is now 6th. So the average salary is now second.
Who's is it? Rodgers is first.
Joe Burrow's first at 55, I think. But Goff is now second, and he is 6th in total guaranteed money with $170 million.
And he'd already gotten paid once.
Yeah. And so this is a second payday here, and
he's rich now.
The question was asked. I know you had asked it in our text the other day. Like, okay, does this affect Dak?
Yeah.
Does this change anything with Dak? That's kind of been the discussion that we've all waited to see which quarterback dominoes affect the other. Well,
yeah. And the two guys at the top, they're both number 1 picks, both Super Bowl losers.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't ever really play into contracts, right?
No,
it doesn't. They don't look like that.
No, not at all. Like, I mean, we've seen the quarterback market just, you keep upping it. If you want to keep your guy, if you want to keep a guy who can help you contend, you got to put him up near the top of the contract market each time. No, and I mean, that's just kind of the reality of how the quarterback market has worked now for a decade, roughly, is when we really started seeing it go this way. So Jared Goff signs this extension, and now the question is, okay, if he's at 53, Burrow's at 55, is there a natural progression that gets Dak all the way to that 60 number that people keep talking about with him? About, man, you may have to pay Dak $60 million. Is this helpful to it? Does $53 million make you say, well, you can't make a $7 million jump over, Jared Goff, and there's not going to be enough quarterback dominoes to fall to push Dak's contract a little higher? Tom Pelissero was on with Rich Eisen this week after the Goff deal, and he was asked, all right, Tom, who could the first $60 million man in the NFL be?
And then you got Dak, who is headed right now toward becoming an unrestricted free agent next March. Jerry Jones continues to say we want Dak to be the quarterback. His actions would indicate otherwise in terms of, at minimum, they want to buy time and see how the season goes on everybody. On Mike McCarthy, who's in the final year of his deal, on Dak, who's in the final year of his contract right now. If that deal gets done next March, or even if Dak plays at a high level this season and then walks that could end up being the first $60 million per year guy. You got to wait 3 years to get your contract. So we can all talk about, CJ Stroud and guys like that. Realistically, Stroud, they can't pay him for at least the next couple of years here. Maybe that's the name. If it's not Dak, Stroud could end up being the guy, just because the timeline when he becomes eligible for a new contract is about 20 months from right now. If he continues to play at this level, that could end up being the one who, just based upon where the cap is going, could be the one that gets over that $60 million ceiling.
So that's interesting to me, is that Pelissero seems to believe Dak getting to 60 would happen if something doesn't get done by next spring. If he hits the open market and time passes where enough of this stuff can start going up, or you get another quarterback deal done, or the cap rises a little bit more, then Pelissero could apparently see him getting 60. But that doesn't sound to me like he believes Dak would get $60 million if he signs an extension before the contract is up.
Franco injured during his fan text. Those guys have proven they can win the playoffs. Dak hasn't. I think that should carry some weight.
But and I understand that thought process, and I'm not saying it's a bad one or anything else. It doesn't matter to these football teams.
You're right. Football teams don't. They are just. And it doesn't matter to the agents.
You're paying for opportunity. When you're invested in quarterback, you are paying for the opportunity to compete.
Yes.
And so if you're paying all that money, you're not going to pay all that money to somebody who can't keep you in the contention of, a conference title or getting, into the playoffs every year. You just want a shot. Dak is a quarterback that will give you a shot every year.
I think he wins 12 games a year. That's what we've seen for the last 3 years.
So that generally is not something that they hold against you. Is
right.
Oh, you didn't. You've been a playoff choker. I mean, Kirk Cousins got the first fully guaranteed quarterback deal without,
and he got a mega deal
winning a playoff game. And people didn't think, there were questions about Kirk Cousins just winning games that were on NBC at 7:00 at night. Forget playoffs or Super Bowl, and he got that deal.
His circadian sleep rhythm is off.
That's not what teams are worried about.
Yeah,
that's not their biggest.
You're right, because teams stopped paying for past production. And I think the Harvard GMs and stuff, they're the ones that kind of brought this to baseball, where they would, it used to be like you paid a guy in his 30s because, he's a big name. This is what he's done for his whole career. And teams wisened up. They're like, well, wait a second, we've already paid you for that. We're going to pay you for what you're going to do for a projection. And that's what they've started to do in all sports. Because they've already compensated you for that. Even if they undercompensated you, they don't make up. You never make up your money.
Yeah.
And they're not paying they're paying for the hope.
Yeah, exactly. You're essentially paying for the opportunity. You're paying to avoid mediocrity, to be able to say, all right, we've got a shot this year and we'll build around it as best we can. The ways you do that are, you have young, cheap quarterbacks who you try to get the most out of on rookie deals, or then you pay a veteran a ridiculous amount of money. But those are your two options. You don't want to be the team, Chop, that's paying $25 million a year for the 16th best quarterback. You don't want to be in that middle.
No, that's a terrible spot to be in.
That is the worst spot to be in, is the middle of it. You either want the young, cheap rookie contract talent, or you have to pay the really top dollar. That hurts.
It hurts.
But you go, at least I know I'm going to be in the conversation. And that's why some team somewhere would pay that. But that seems to be Pelissero's thought, is that the only way he hits 60 is if he hits the open market.
Right. Now, look, I mean, we mentioned, with Jared Goff and the Lions, and I love Jared Goff. I think he's wildly underrated. I think he's a top 8 quarterback at least.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, $60 million. I mean, is he? I know Pat Mahomes can take a depleted roster because of his contract to lead him to a Super Bowl. I don't know that Josh Allen can do that. I don't know that Jared Goff can do that. They haven't necessarily had to. Goff was making a very reasonable salary.
Yeah.
His cap hit was in the 20s last year.
Yeah, I mean, Dak's cap hit is massive now because of all these restructures. But if you talk about average annual salary, he's tied with 3 people for 10th.
Yeah.
So you're talking about him being the 10th to 12th highest paid quarterback in the NFL now. This is why the market reset matters, and this is why you try to get extensions done while guys are still under contract, so you can massage that contract number just a little bit. Before we jump to chopping it up here in just a second, CeeDee Lamb is another guy waiting on a contract. He has not been showing up to the voluntary workouts. He'll be there for things that are mandatory, I would guess, but right now he's just not showing up till he gets a new deal done. I don't blame him. And it doesn't sound like his coaches blame him either. We had a number of members of the Cowboys coaching staff talking to the media yesterday. Brian Schottenheimer was asked, is there a problem with CD missing voluntary workouts?
It doesn't matter right now. Again, CD's a pro. He's going to know what to do. Again, I know Dak and the guys have some communication with him, but we know he's taking care of business, and when he gets back here, we'll certainly be able to find ways to get him the ball.
And Robert Prince, his position coach and the newly minted passing game coordinator for the Cowboys. What about you? You concerned about CD not being here?
That guy is one of the hardest working guys I've ever been around, and we know even though he's not here and we love for him to be here, we know he's putting in his work and he'll be ready. As far as the other guys, they're getting an opportunity to get the reps that he's not getting, so it's helping us out.
Cowboys coaches don't seem concerned with it. Again, I wouldn't be concerned with it either because they know and the reputation of CeeDee Lamb's work ethic and the type of work he gets in is well established with them, and you know he's still getting in work with Dak Prescott, probably in the Dak yard and doing separate things like that. But ultimately, still waiting on a contract. But Brian Schottenheimer, Robert Prince, not concerned with CeeDee Lamb not being present for it right now because they think doesn't totally need to be there at the moment. It's not going to kill them.